Now, we are going through a major, major shift right now. And we understand that the Fed is being, or in the process of being, nationalized. This is the beginning stages of it all. And during this process, we knew that we were going to have to come out of this broken system, the central bank illusion, where they enslave the people, where they push taxes on the people. They put the world into debt. And the only way out of this is to continue to work and work and work. Yes, there are some people that are able to rise above this. We even have those people that have inside information, and they do very, very well. But remember, the majority of the people of the country, they have a very difficult time. And this is what the central bankers count on, that the mass majority have a difficult time. In this way, they can control them. Remember when Trump came into office, what did the Fed try to do at this point? And this is before Trump actually had control of the Fed. They were unloading their balance sheet. They were ready to raise the rates. And we know what happens when the Fed raises rates. We enter a recession, a depression. This is what they were trying to do. And why were they taking all this toxic real estate and everything else off their books? Because they knew once we entered a recession, a depression, they were going to have to put that right back on their books. Why were they raising the rates? They needed to get into a certain position once they caused a recession, depression, to lower the rates. Trump has taken this away from them. Think about this for a second. When their system implodes, when everything starts to fall apart. Now, a lot of people think that this is the part that everything's falling apart, but it really isn't. This is the shift right now. When everything falls apart, the Fed at this point will not be able to do anything. Actually, the central banks around the world, they're going to be stuck. The Fed's balance sheet right now is around $6 trillion. Now, think about this for a second. When Trump came into office, they were unloading the balance sheet from $4.5 trillion, and they brought it all the way down to almost $3 trillion. And then he reversed this. Now, since this event, the Fed's balance sheet went from something like 4.6 or 4.7 trillion all the way up to 6 trillion. It completely reversed. The Fed is being loaded up with everything. They are going to take the fall. And this is going to have a ripple effect across the world. What Trump and the Patriots are doing right now, and I don't believe it's just Trump, I believe he's working with Putin, Xi, and many others. They're removing the power structure away from the Rothschilds. They are making it so they don't have the power over all these entities. Where the countries that these central banks are in, and there's one time that Q did give us a complete list of all the countries the private Western central banks were in and who controlled them. He is now removing the power structure from the top level. This way they can go after them. But during this shift, Trump is going to have to protect the people. Now remember, if he wasn't in this position and it was someone else, the whole system would just come down. Think about 2008, 2009. Did any of the stimulus money go to small businesses and people? Did anyone receive a check? If you own a business, did you receive money from the government? No, you did not. Now, a lot of people believe that this might be helicopter money. Well, Trump, he's using what they had planned for against them. This is what he always does. Right now, remember, he'd signed a Defense Production Act. We're in a national emergency. If he wanted to, he could dictate to these banks, companies, and he could tell them exactly what to do, but he'd rather them just do it on their own. A lot of them are cooperating, some are not. Let's take, for example, Bank of America. Now, Bank of America is giving a large group of its borrowers a large break. The company's allowing 50,000 of them to defer their mortgage payment because of what is happening now throughout the world and here in the United States. I'm hoping that other banks will follow suit, which will help the people. I do believe that Trump is waiting to see what these banks and companies do until he needs to step in. Just like he stepped in with General Motors, he stepped in with 3M. He's waiting to see their reaction. Now, he tweeted out the following: "Great job being done by Bank of America and many community banks throughout the country. Small businesses appreciate your work." Now, the other thing that is happening is that the SBA is giving loans to small businesses to help out with payroll. And this is coming from the SBA. Says update, at least 9,970 loans have been processed, 3.2 billion plus originated. CARES Act and Paycheck Protection Program offers small businesses forgivable loans for 8 weeks of payroll plus operating expenses. All hands on deck. Trump and the Patriots, they knew when we were going to shift into this new economic system that it was going to be a very painful transition. Now, is it as painful as it would be if the central bank and the deep state were in charge? No. But he knew that during this type of an event, they were going to have to protect the people any way they possibly could. And this is exactly what they are doing. This is what we actually expected to happen when we talked about transitioning into a new economic system. And you have to remember, just because the event ends doesn't mean everything goes back to normal in a split second. He can keep the Defense Production Act. He can keep the national emergency because the country is still reeling from the effects of the event. And he might even have this go all the way to the end of this year and into 2021. Because even though the market starts to move up a little bit, even though everyone says, okay, the event is over, it doesn't mean he is finished with the transition. I think he's counting on this, and he's going to do whatever he needs to do to bring as many manufacturers, as many companies back, open as many plants as he possibly can, and help the people along the way by having companies say, you know something, you need to give a little bit now. And of course, they're going to use the central bank fiat currency to do all this. And in the end, what do you think he's going to do? It reminds me of when people go bankrupt. When they say, okay, you know what we're going to do before we go bankrupt? And a lot of people do this. A lot of businesses do this too. They go ahead and they spend as much as they possibly can on credit. And they get computers, they get, whatever they're going to get, they get. And then they go bankrupt. And all that stuff is just gone. And they keep it. Now, if Trump is using the central bank, using the fiat currency to build the infrastructure, using the stimulus money to help the people, in the end, what can he do? He can show that the Federal Reserve and other central banks, because the Federal Reserve helped other central banks, they were not benefiting the people. It's a criminal enterprise. And he can say, you know something? Since this is a criminal enterprise for many, many years, we're not going to pay off this debt. There's no reason to. This was criminal. And remember, where do they get these funds? From thin air. And also, we need to remember, he's in the process of nationalizing the Fed. And all of this is going to benefit him. It's going to benefit the people. Now, Steve Mnuchin, he is letting everyone know that the American people will be receiving their cash deposits in their accounts in about 2 weeks, on schedule from the passing of the Phase 3 stimulus last week. So it looks like everything is on schedule, and Trump and the Patriots, what they're doing is they are maneuvering and pushing this economy into a new system which they have been building. And he's using this opportunity to do a lot more. And I do believe what's coming up, this is going to be a very big turn because he's going to start to force companies to do certain things, especially when this event ends. I think he's going to look at the economy and say, okay, we need to do a lot more to get everything back up and running. And this is when he's going to talk to the companies. Right now, he's busy dealing with the ongoing event. And I think once the event is over, he's going to switch gears and he's going to start telling companies what they need to do. You need to open a plant over here. You need to come back to the U.S. You need to do this. Why? Because we need to get back on our feet. He's in complete control of this situation.